Stan Gibilisco here, proprietor and operator of amateur radio station W1GV, Whiskey 1 Good Vibrations. At your service to tell you confidentially about a viewer and his request for some information on me about software-defined radio, or SDR. I've never expressed any opinions on SDR or very much technically about it because, as an old-timer, I know very little about it, except that instead of the standard microcomputer controlled radio, you can actually connect a personal computer to your radio and control the radio with the personal computer. Get the entire display, everything, all of the parameters on your computer screen. And that enables you to have a very large display indeed, if that's what you want. And it would enable me to make fabulous screen capture videos of QSOs in action. That is what I thought about immediately, is that I could make great YouTube videos using my screen capture program, which is known as Camtasia Studio. That's the one I use to where I write on the blackboard with the lines and all of that. But what do I think of software-defined radio as an old-timer? Do I think that computers have no place in radio, that, oh, you know, ham radio should be the old brass pounder with the old tubes and the old... Well, not really. I think software-defined radio is a great idea. I think it's a fabulous new addition to ham radio, especially because it allows for refined forms of digital signal processing. You can customize your display. There's only two potential technical bugaboos I can think about in regards to that I'm sure you can overcome with amateur radio ingenuity. And the first is, your radio could interfere with your computer, and the result would be chaos. Or your computer could interfere with your radio, and the result would be chaos. Not good. And maybe a third bugaboo that I think could exist but doesn't have to and shouldn't, in my opinion, and that is connection to the internet. Well, maybe I should qualify that by saying that you should not rely on a connection to the internet for any of your ham radio functions if you intend to use your radio in emergency situations. But as for interaction between amateur radio and the internet, I guess I see no objection to that, unless I want to be the old codger who says, bah, humbug, you know. And this is not the time of year to be going around saying bah, humbug, believe me. It is the time of year to be going around saying, good grief, is it ever cold outside. We're having a cold wave right now that for the black holes is pretty significant. 10 below 0 Fahrenheit is pretty doggone cold for the black holes of Dakota Territory, United States of Amateur Radio. But in response to your letter, your snail mail letter, which contained an email address that's more than 14, 15 years out of date, no wonder you had to send me a snail mail letter. You probably looked me up in the FCC database to find my physical address, which you can easily find, and send me a snail mail letter. But that is my take on software-defined radio. I think it's a great thing. I think it'd be a wonderful thing to have. I think that I cannot afford it at this time because of recent expenses, which I will not get into the reason for, because it would just be self-pity, and I'm trying to avoid that on my channel. But I think it's great. I think that software-defined radio may very well play a major role in the future of our art in emergency communications and all other kinds of communications, provided that we have a recourse that we can go to so that we do not have to depend upon the internet in order to carry out software-defined radio. Because one of these days, some unhappy morning, as Alexander Solzhenitsyn would say many years ago, one unhappy morning we will wake up to a world with no internet, because a coronal mass ejection from the sun will have wiped it out. We want our art to be immune to those kinds of catastrophes, so that in an emergency we can come through as radio amateurs when no one else can. That's what sets amateur radio apart from all other forms of communications. And software and computers, done properly, can play a major role in the advancement of amateur radio, and I'm all for it. The old timer is all for the right new stuff. That's my humble opinion. Stan Gibilisco, proprietor and operator of amateur radio station W1GV Whiskey 1 Good Vibrations, saying 73, which means best regards, and so long, which means, of course, on the old brass pounder, da-da-da-da-da-da.